What up, Giants fans? Before we take a deep dive into the latest surrounding Saquon Barkley and a possible contract extension, let's get the good vibes rolling on today's show. If you want the Giants to get a long-term deal done with Saquon Barkley, I want you to like this video, go down, and hit that thumbs up icon. According to ESPN, Saquon Barkley and the New York Football Giants are not that far off from a long-term deal. We're going to break that down on today's show. I'm your host, Marshall Green, and you're watching Giants Now by Chat Sports. The Giants, they placed the non-exclusive franchise tag on Saquon Barkley on the tag deadline day as of Tuesday, which means he's allowed to negotiate with other teams, and they could then sign him to a deal, which the Giants would have 5 days to match. If the Giants elect not to match, that team would have to pay the Giants 2 first-round picks. I have a feeling no teams are going to negotiate with Barkley because they don't want to give up those 2 first-round picks. But the tag is really just a placeholder because a deal and a long-term deal could still get done. This is what Jordan Renan of ESPN had to say on the subject. He said, a source told ESPN that they believe a long-term deal is a strong possibility before the start of free agency next week. The two sides are not that far off. It was believed at the start of the process that $14 million per year could be a spot Barkley considers acceptable. And then when you talk about that last spot, you got to remember the Giants offered Saquon Barkley during their bye week this season $12 million per year. So if he wants 14 and the Giants are offering 12, the middle and the common ground should be $13 million per year. But for some reason, a deal has not been done. So let's take a look at what the top backs in the NFL are being paid right now. And this is the most up-to-date, including the franchise tag on Barkley as well as Josh Jacobs, which makes them tied for the 9th highest paid back in the NFL. You got Christian McCaffrey, the top of the list, at $16 million. And you look where $12 and $13 million would land Saquon Barkley. $13 million would make Barkley the 4th highest paid back in the NFL, as well as $14 million. But all is to be expected that Ezekiel Elliott could be cut here coming up pretty soon, so it would make him the 3rd highest paid back, where $12 million, where the Giants offered him, would make him tied for 7th most. But there's a lot of reason, and just off this list that'll tell you paying a running back a lot of money on a second-term deal doesn't really make all that much sense. Look at Zeke. Look at Dalvin Cook. They're already shopping Derrick Henry. Joe Mixon, he's going to be cut here pretty soon. So it's definitely a risky business. But now that you know what the top 10 guys are being paid, I want to take the pulse of the audience right now. Sound off for me down in the comment section. Take the seat of Joe Schoen, be the GM. How much would you pay Saquon Barkley per year? He said no to 12. Renan is saying he would say yes to 14. So be the GM. Let me know, how much would you pay Saquon Barkley per year? And I also want to make sure you guys are subscribed here to the channel, youtube.com/NYGiantsTV. Because if and when the Giants re-sign Saquon Barkley, or maybe he signs with another team, I promise you we're going to have a video as soon as possible, and we also are going to be going live here on the channel. The offseason's here, which means there's breaking news at the weirdest times of the day. So hit that sub button, turn your notifications on. Go down below, hit that bell icon, and select all so you are never out of the loop when breaking news happens. Coming up in a second, Joe Schoen actually spoke about Saquon Barkley to the media earlier this week on Wednesday. He had a Zoom interview with all of the Giants beat reporters and NFL beat reporters. He talked about Daniel Jones. He talked about Saquon Barkley. We're going to break down what he had to say about Barkley coming up here in a quick bit. But first, I got to give a huge shout out to today's sponsor, Athletic Greens. Shout out to them. The link is down in the comments and description of today's video. That is athleticgreens.com/chat sports. Giants Now is sponsored by Athletic Greens. I take AG1 by Athletic Greens literally every day. Get comprehensive and convenient daily nutrition at athleticgreens.com/chat sports. I gave AG1 a try because I wanted better gut health and wanted a supplement that actually tastes great. I take AG1 in the morning, and it makes me feel ready to take on my day. AG1 empowers the gut for whole body health, which is something that I need. I start the day with making one great choice, AG1, and more healthy decisions then follow. Covering my nutritional basis for the day literally couldn't be easier, which is why I trust Athletic Greens. I just mix one small scoop of AG1 with water and drink it first thing every morning. I also love that it costs less than $3 a day. It's a really effective daily habit with the highest quality sourced ingredients. If a comprehensive solution is what you need from your supplement routine, then Athletic Greens is giving you a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. Go to athleticgreens.com/chatsports. That's athleticgreens.com/chatsports. That link is at the bottom of the screen. It's also clickable in the comments and description of today's show. Shout out to Athletic Greens and AG1. You guys are going to like it. I promise you, you can thank me later. Let's go to what Joe Schoen had to say about Saquon Barkley when he was speaking to the media. The media asked him, what's the progress? Where are we at? Have contracts been offered? And he said, we've had deals out, whether it be the bye week or recently, and we're going to continue to negotiate. We love Saquon. He's a good teammate. He's a captain. He's a hell of a player. Right now, he's under the franchise tag. And as we build the team and continue with our offseason plan, we'll do what is best for our team. We're still mapping that out. We tried to get a deal done with him and his representatives, and we couldn't. I think both parties knew at the end of the day that this was an option, and I think, again, if he's frustrated, I can understand some of that. We can be frustrated as well that we couldn't get a deal done. I love Saquon. He's a good player. He's going to be a part of this team going forward, and we'll see where it goes from here. I think that last quote was most important. He tells you, I love him. He's a good player, and he's going to be a part of this team going forward, which tells me he's going to be a part of this team going forward. But we have to talk about the elephant in the room, which is the franchise tag, which has him on the hook for 1 year, $10 million, fully guaranteed, which is really hurting the salary cap health of Big Blue right now. The franchise tag is literally the worst case scenario for both sides. One, because Saquon said he didn't want to be on the tag. This is what he said following the end of the season for the Giants. He said, if you ask anyone, they would prefer a long-term deal and not get tagged. But sadly, that is part of the business. That is something they can do. And when you talk about why the franchise tag is bad for the Giants and why the franchise tag is bad for Saquon Barkley, let's start with the Giants, because a long-term deal is better than the tag and would give the Giants more cap space this season. Right now, he's on the hook for that $10.09 million. It's guaranteed. It's a hard number. The Giants can't get any lower than that on his cap hit this year. But let's say you give him a 3-year, $45 million year deal, about $15 million per. You could actually lower the cap hit lower than $10 million, maybe get it to 5, 6, 7, and backload that contract, and maybe year 3 or year 4 is not fully guaranteed. And the reason it's not good for Saquon, obviously, is there's no long-term security and long-term, compensation that's going to keep him in guaranteed dollars if he gets hurt and he won't be able to, make that money down the road. It's the worst case for both sides. And really, if the Giants want to be players in free agency, they got to get a long-term deal done. And I believe they will. So I want to ask this question before we go on any more in the show. Will the Giants re-sign Saquon Barkley? It's best for Barkley. It's best for the Giants. It actually allows them to spend more money, even though they're going to be paying more on the contract than the franchise tag. Let me know. Will they do it? Type Y for yes. Type N for no. I wanted to just kind of wrap up today's show talking about the Giants salary cap situation because there's conflicting numbers all out there. The New York Daily News and Pat Leonard put out an article on Wednesday which said the Giants, after the Barkley tag, after the Golladay cut, and after the Jones deal, have $37 million in cap space, which would be one of the number one teams in the NFL. But Over the Cap and Spotrac, which are really reliable salary cap sites, say the Giants have $25.1 million in cap space. And that's a big difference. That's $12 million in difference. And I think what Pat Leonard is doing is already factoring in the Leonard Williams restructure and the contract renegotiation, where they're going to push the money forward. They're going to change his base salary to a signing bonus and give them about $12 million in cap space. And that's how I think Pat Leonard got to 37. Whether it be $37 million or $25 million, the Giants are going to be players in free agency. This isn't the 2022 cycle where Joe Schoen took over the Giants from Dave Gettleman and they were not healthy and they were not flexible in the cap space spot and they were having to sign everybody on veteran minimum deals. Remember last year, there were only 2 players the Giants signed to more than 1-year deals. That being Mark Lewinsky, you signed him to a 3-year deal, and your backup quarterback, Tyrod Taylor. You signed 2 players to deals more than 1 year. That's not going to be the same this year, and Joe Schoen even said that. At the media availability, he was asked, are you guys going to be players in free agency? And he said, we are not shopping for minimum players anymore in free agency. So all the people out there saying, we don't have the money, we don't have this, how are we going to do that? The man just told you, we're not being cheapskates anymore. The Giants will be buyers in NFL free agency. Does this mean they're going to go out and sign a lot of people to a lot of money? No. But this tells you that if they like a guy and he fits their price point, they are going to make a move on them. I believe the Giants will sign 2 B-level free agents. I don't think they're going to go out and sign any of the expensive guys that are going to make a bunch of guaranteed money. But the guys in tier 2, the B-level free agents, I think the Giants will sign 2 or 3 of those guys. I appreciate everybody for tuning in to today's show. Somewhat of a longer video, but wanted to get you guys all the news and info on Barkley and the salary cap, as there's just a bunch of different reports coming out. Another way you can stay up to date on everything Big Blue is over on my Twitter at @MarshallGreen_. Hit me up over there, and let's go G-Men.